aim to motivate and inspire viewers to enjoy the clothes they wear as an expression of their personality and their beliefs. This is the Slow Wardrobe. Come and have a look. Hello, welcome to episode 67 of the Slow Wardrobe podcast. My name is Linda and I am your host. This episode, as some of you will be aware, is woefully late. It was due to be published on Friday the 22nd, I think, of April, when I was in the middle of building my stand at Wonderwool, Wales. It was the first show that I did in more than 2 years, ever since the start of the pandemic. And this episode is largely dedicated to it, because I've done a walk around of the show, a little bit like I did for Unravel in February recently, where I only attended as a visitor. So the walk around was timed at Sunday morning, the second day of the show, and it was the last half hour pretty much before the show opened. So as a result, you're going to see some stands that have covered up their merchandise, because sometimes during the night birds fly through the hall and deposit little bits and pieces on the merchandise, so people try and protect their things from that. So of course I couldn't remove those, but most stands are open. A bunch of stand holders are already there. People are getting coffees and whatever, so there's some bustle in the background. And it's quite a large show compared to Unravel. So I'll try and speed up the boring parts of the recording and hopefully not dazzle you too much with fast moving images and give you an impression. Before then, though, I will talk you up to speed as to where I got to with my knitting for the last 2 weeks, some of which you can see around me. So let's start with that. I apologize that there's not going to be any layer cake in detail this episode. It would all become far too long if I had tried to squish that in as well. However, because I'm sticking to the schedule, the original schedule, with this podcast coming late but still counting as the one for last week, it means that in the second week of May, there is going to be a podcast again, and I'm just catching up that way. So I hope this doesn't all sound too confusing, but before walking around Wonderwool, let's talk about my knitting. So yes, you can see where I am with my current project. I'll start with the finished projects that I've got to show you. The first one was the most recent one, and it was the Milky Way sweater by the Japanese designer whose name I'll put below here. And I'll show the finished sweater, me wearing the finished sweater in the picture. What you can see a little bit in the pictures, what I talked about before as well, that as with a previous favorite sweater, this was knitted out of Biche et Bûche Le Petit Lamb's wool. And because it is such a light and lofty and airy yarn, it's quite easy to create a bit of sculpting within the sweater. And I did that with this one by putting in a wedge-shaped panel at the back of it to make the back hang longer than the front, and pressing it out in a shape that makes it slightly A-line, which is a garment shape that suits me particularly well because of the pear-shaped body that I inhabit. So I really enjoyed the knitting of this sweater. I can really recommend the pattern. The size that I knitted was the largest size, and I pretty much knitted the front to the pattern in terms of length, and then I added that wedge to extra wedge to the back panel to make it hang longer in the back than the front. And the other finished object that I've got here is one that I've been selling the pattern for a while now. It's the Yarnadelic poncho. I had a lot of interesting conversations about the sample and about the poncho kit at Wonderwool. So I thought I'll give it another little airing on this particular show. And most specifically to show you right next to each other the two colorways. Both of the colorways feature all the colors that are in the Yarnadelic color scheme. I think there's 18 of them. And the only way in which the two colorways vary is that the main color, as I've called it, in this one is a very light color, and you can see that in the narrow stripes in between the other colors, as well as at the bottom and at the top. That's the way that the main color is featured more prominently. And in the dark version, I've taken the darkest color out of all the 18 colors and used that to separate the stripes in the middle section, as well as at the top and bottom of the poncho. So it gives a slightly different color impression as a result, but the color sequence is exactly the same in both. And the only other difference is that this has been felted slightly more than that one. And it gives you a bit of an idea as to what happens when you felt it more. They were felted in the dryer, which is a really good alternative to washing machine felting, which is not really an option when you live in Europe because most of our washing machines are front loading, so you can't open them up and check your felting mid-cycle. But you can do so with a dryer, and a dryer in essence does the same thing as a washing machine, only you end up wetting your project before you put it in the dryer rather than wetting your project before you put it in the washing machine, because the washing machine does that. So you put your wet project in the dryer and turn it on, and after the first half hour or so you can check and see whether you like the proportions. You can squish and pull and push it a little bit to create the shape that you like, and then keep felting until you're happy with the finished object. It won't be completely dry then, so then you dry it either on a radiator or on a hanger the rest of the time, or even on a towel, for example, for the rest of the drying time that it needs, so it stops felting and it keeps the shape that you have chosen to stop felting at. So both of these are still available. I still have kits in both colorways on the website, and because I knitted both of them and one of them not too long ago, I thought I'll show them again, especially because I got some questions about the different colorways and the felting process at Wonderwool. So far the Yarnadelic poncho, and now on to my current knitting, my work in progress. I have pinned it onto one of the love tops here, one of my own love tops, not the merchandise. And as you can see, of course, the project is too big for the little mannequin that I've hung it off of. But in my case, it'll be a good fit for me. This is the Judith cardigan by Jackie Bogg, knitted with one of her kits. And I have that's why you see needle tips sticking out here. I have just connected for 2 rows, connected the sleeves to the body. As you can see, this is knitted bottom up. So you first knit the body in the round, and there's actually a line of stitches here in front, a line of 7 stitches that are going to be steeked when the knitting is finished. So you knit the body in the round up until the bottom of the yoke. You knit the sleeves in the round, again, up until the point where you connect them and start the yoke, and then you knit the yoke up. I'm very aware that this is probably all hanging too low, but with the setup that I have, I think it's about the best I can do to show you this in progress. As the jumper that or both of the jumpers that I knitted before by that are Jackie's designs. I like this one just as much again, really enjoy it. And I hope to be keeping this one myself again. I kept the first one, Theodora. Here's a picture of Theodora. That is a really big oversized hug of a jumper that I knitted for myself a couple of years back. Still absolutely adore that and wear it regularly. And then I knitted a beautiful colorwork jumper just earlier this year that I ended up giving to my husband. Here it is again, and I'll show you the name below because I've forgotten about it. So that's the colorwork jumper that I knitted for myself that ended up being really wrong in terms of both coloring as well as proportions. So I passed it on to him. This is going to have very different proportions. It's more fitted, less oversized and a lot shorter. So like I said, this is probably all hanging too low. The whole thing is going to go up, and in reality it will only hang just below my natural waistline. It's not hip length as is suggested here. So I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed that I'll have my beautiful colorwork little cardigan to wear with my layer cakes. And my guess is that by next podcast I may have finished this one. It's just the yoke to go and then the steeking. If the timing is right, I will record my steeking. I don't have any qualms or panics or fears about steeking. I've never done it before, so I'm excited to give it a go. I've been making clothes for most of my life, so I don't worry about cutting into anything really, including my knitting. And I'm keen to see the whole thing finished. I'm going to finish it with some nice ribbon on the inside and all of that, which I will share with you in a future podcast. So watch this space to see what's coming and how I'll finish and hopefully wear it. Now, talking about wearing, this is going to be the next pre-order. As you can see, it's a very subtle striped linen. It is one of the summer weight linens that I do, the same weight that are the love tops and the step tops, for example, and the summer weight dresses. This is a summer weight linen as well, and coming down the pike is a pre-order for some summer weight linen play suits. It's a first. I have done one of the 3 striped versions of this particular linen. I did a sample for myself and I've been wearing that and washing it for a number of weeks to see how the summer weight linen would behave in a play suit. I'm very impressed. I absolutely love the way it is wearing and softening. I love the way it hangs. Those of you who saw me at Wonderwool have seen me wear that sample. This is another sample that I had made by Andrea, of course, for the photography on the website. And if you are interested to see this offer as soon as possible, then as you are watching this, the garments will be available for pre-order on the website, and hopefully I'll be able to show some more of them in the podcast to come. Play suits in a summer weight linen, but that's kind of by the by, because like I said, the next section is dedicated to Wonderwool. And speaking of Wonderwool, the other thing I thought I would share with you is my Wonderwool haul. I don't really tend to share any yarn hauls or show hauls, and I thought, why not do so? Because I actually brought back a couple of items that I bought at the show. I'll start off with a sock blank, which I basically swiped off my own stand because it is one of the gorgeous sock blanks by Sharon, 5 Moons Yarns. You may remember that I've shown you this sock blank in the past, which was one that I got from her that I haven't even knitted up yet. Look at that. Beautiful. I will check the name of it and put the name of this below, just in case she's got more of them, because I don't actually know. But there are definitely other colorways available still. I'm pretty sure that we packed some of them back up. So I think there are some sock blanks available on the website still. And I, at the weekend, swiped this one. As you can see, blues and golden colors. I think it is super saturated. Of course, green where the blue and yellow meet, super saturated in color, because Sharon actually uses pure pigment to do some of the dyeing of these. So my guess is that there's going to be lots and lots of pigment coming out of the yarn because it is so saturated when it's first being washed. And I don't mind that at all. You know, I'll just hand wash them a number of times once they're knitted. So socks for husband. Then I move on to a purchase that actually doesn't have anything to do with knitting directly. It is a little present for my mum. Next week, I'm going to be in the Netherlands to help my mum move house. Very exciting project. She's very excited to move. And when the plan was first aired, the last time I saw her face to face, I promised her then that when the time comes for you to move, I'll come and help you. And I just saw her face light up. So I had to go and do that. And I will be there next week, the first week from May. So that also means that I won't be able to ship anything to you in the next week of May, but in the first week of May, but it's only a 4-day week because of the May bank holiday. So I hope you'll bear with me. And I, of course, I'm going to bring her a present. So I said to my husband, I don't know if I need to fly or whatever, but I really want to go and help my mum. He said, don't be silly. I'll come with you. We'll make a little road trip. We'll go together. With all the kids out of the house, we don't have anybody having to be there. So we'll zip across together. And I'm really looking forward to that, especially as a little break after Wonderwool, because my goodness, that show take it out of me. For those of you who saw me there, I didn't bring Andrea with me because I was so paranoid that she was going to catch the virus, seeing so many people in close proximity during the show. I got away unscathed, and she might very well have as well, but scuppering her livelihood by taking her out of action with a COVID infection, I don't think I could live with myself. And it would also mean that you would all have to wait that much longer for the orders that I've got in our order book. So I didn't want to risk it. Plus any other clients that Andrea has, because I'm not the only person she works with. So she stayed at home, but that meant that I did the majority of the work on the stand, loading up here, driving across to Wales, building the stand, manning the stand, breaking it back down. Of course, I had some help from Sharon, and who had Zoe with her friend Zoe, who of course also helped me very generously with their muscle power and time. But still, it was that bit more intense after more than a 2-year break. So my goodness, I was nearly on my knees by Saturday night. So I excused myself, had a very long sleep Saturday evening. And then, to the annoyance of everybody else at the show, I was actually bouncing with energy on day 2 of the show, which is not normally what happens. By the afternoon, the last afternoon of the show, you tend to be kind of grinding to a halt in terms of energy, and then you still have the breakdown of the stand to look forward to. But I was full of beans, so that was good. Anyways, back to my purchases. This is a purchase from a lovely lady called Jen Patola, as you can see on her bag, on the bag that she generously gave me with my purchase. I have bought a beautiful wool throw from Jen a number of years ago in at Woolfest in Cumbria, and I've bought like silk little duster, little jacket from her before that is beautiful as well. And now I bought this beautiful shawl rather than that I want to show you, because it is the softest huge wool wrap. So this is only 1/4 of it. It's twice as long and twice as wide. So we're really talking about 3 foot wide and 7 foot long. This beautiful soft denim color. And again, I can really strongly recommend these. If Jen has got a website, which I don't even know, I forgot to check before I started filming this, then I will list her website here below. And I'm sure she had some of these left still when I made my purchase. So if she has a website, hopefully they'll be listed there. It's absolutely stunning and very, very, very affordable. So heartily recommended. And then last but not least, I made another yarn purchase. Now, this last yarn purchase, I've got it sat here in front of me, and you are probably thinking, wow, what is she going to make? Answer, no idea. I make a lot of my yarn purchases quite impulsively, and I very often don't know what I'm going to make with something when I've bought it. But what I have here are a whole bunch of tiny little bubs of balls of yarn, each 10 grams in weight, all around 35 to 40 meters in length. It is a DK weight yarn that is made up of 25% Angora, so from little Angora bunnies, and 75% super soft merino. And I bought all the colors that Big Wigs Angora had of this particular blend. They're all here. If when I edit this, I come to the conclusion that you really can't see what I'm showing, then I'll make a photograph and show you a close-up as well. But look at all these colors. They're beautiful and soft and subtle, and they go incredibly well together. As you can see, there is one little bump that is bigger, which is a 50-gram little ball of yarn, about 135 meters. And it is in the one color that wasn't available in a 10-gram ball. So I thought, well, that can be my main color. So I can work around with this using the other colors. That's as far as I got. So there are 13 little 10-gram balls. So that is 130 grams and then 50 grams of the main color. So I've got 180 in total. So depending on what I want to make, maybe a cowl, I'm thinking. If it is a cowl, it's going to be quite big. So it could also potentially maybe be the yoke of a garment. I just don't know yet. But I'm going to swatch with it before I do anything else and have a play and then decide what I'm going to make. So at some point this may feature again in the future. But all the yarns that I saw on that stand, I think are stunning. So I'll put the website of Big Wigs Angora down here. Lovely lady who served me and recommended. So that was it. As far as my, oh my gosh, I just realized, oh my goodness. I will show you this up close. Oh, there. Sarah is her name, the owner of Big Wigs Angora, and bigwigsangora.co.uk is the website. And I'll show you a close-up of this photograph, which is on her little business card, which is just gorgeous. This basket of little Angora bunnies. Gorgeous. Really, really, really nice. And you can feel that in the yarn, of course. Super, super soft, but without it being too hot, because of course the higher the Angora percentage in a yarn, the warmer it is to wear. And I'm not great with wearing very, very warm yarns, which is one of the reasons that I'm such a fan of the yarns that I tend to go back to, and such a fan of the linen yarns that I knit with. So that's it in terms of purchases. over to the big walk around of Wonderwool. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you again soon at the other end of my trip to move my mum's house. Well, move my mum's stuff inside her house to a different one and share with you how that goes. Enjoy. Good morning, everyone. Well, here we are at Wonderwool in Wales, and I thought I would do a quick walk around of the show if I can fit it all in, because this is a lot bigger than Unravel the other day. So I'm going to start now and walk you around hall 3 to begin with, and then I'll do the other halls. So bear with me, we'll see how it goes. Well, I have to start with an apology immediately because I did not have the wherewithal to turn my camera sideways and film this in landscape mode. So you'll have to bear with me and either turn it off now or watch the whole video with the blinkers on in portrait mode. So sorry. Right, so that was a coffee area to start with in hall 3, and we're going to walk around. I will say the names of the companies out loud as well. That was Ripping Yarns, followed by Felt Creative, then an empty stand, and you'll see a couple of stands around that were empty due to people not being able to participate in most cases because of COVID. Then we have the Weaver's Loft, followed by Elliot's Shed. Is a good example here of having everything that's lying down covered to protect it from the birds. And luckily there are not too many stands that are like that, but some of them still have things covered. So this is Sorry Mur. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Weaving looms. And then we have Janie Crow, the beautiful crocheted blankets from Janie in wonderful colourful designs. Then we swing around to the sheep walk area, which was the fashion show that took place a couple of times during both days. I wasn't able to participate this year because I was by myself, but I was told that the compere was wearing one of my outfits, so that was fantastic. So now we swing around to the other side of the seating area of the sheep walk, and we start off here with Blackbird Yarns, all their yarns very neatly displayed, and followed by Little Gemfelds, who unfortunately still had their stand covered. Next to them are Tine and Floyd. Lovely yarns and some spinning wheels, as you can see. Then followed by Bavet. You may know that name from wool duvets, but as you can see they sell other things than that as well. And this is a new to me company called 80 Skeins, clearly a yarn dyer as well. And here we have the Knitting Shed, well familiar with these ladies, and last time I did Unravel a couple of years ago, they were just around the corner and they're great fun to exhibit next to. And this is the lovely big stand from Ashford. Here I'm turning to the massive specially created Alice in Wonderwool installation. I read from the program. The installation features an array of captivating characters, all crafted from felt and fibre. This exhibition will be raising money for this year's Wonderwool charities, which include the Wales Air Ambulance and NGO Molotok. Show regulars Alex Johnston and Kathy Smart, who brought the crochet seagulls to Wonderwool in 2019, joined forces with felting and fibre art friends, including prolific knitter and crochet enthusiast Terry Moncion, to recreate Alice's dreamland journey and her marvelously wacky tea party. Jana Turner from Flock to Felts was project lead and felting advisor, as well as creating some of the characters and plants. Swinging around the corner here, we have the Carmarthen School of Art with a really interesting display. Some beautiful creative stuff on display here. and very, very ethereal. A lot of work with very fine thread, showing off the stitches of the work beautifully. Very interesting display indeed. And so here we come to the part of the hall that we entered, the seating area, the coffee area, and we'll zip across to hall number 1, where we enter through the main entrance hall and we see the reception area. There in that lime green jacket is Chrissy, the organizer of the show, which she organizes together with her husband Andy. Moving on to the stand, here are Border Bears, followed by De Veer yarns, sadly covered, and on to Mandy Nash. Bunch of tiny stands here, smaller stands close to the entrance, and again an empty stand due to COVID. Pat Johnson, felt maker, and the Electric Boogaloo second coffee area, before we swing around and see a stand right at the end here, the Lace Knittery. Then double backing, we have the Shepherd's Hut, followed by Sealy McWheely, also covered still, and the Ceredigion Guild of Weavers, Spinners and Dyers. A couple of guilds here in short succession, close to the entrance. Here is the Association of Guilds of Weavers, Spinners and Dyers. And then we swing around to Hot Butter Yarns in the distance there, next to the Woolly Tangle and Attic Spin Dye. Then we turn around again to see the back of the stands that we just watched. We have, first of all, the Button Queen on the corner here, and then followed by a combined stand of Raw Thread Design and Experience Ukraine. Very topical, obviously, at the moment. Right next to a big stand of Adelaide Walker. Then next to Adelaide is Cassiopeia Yarns, new to me name. And right next to Cassiopeia is Lilliput White. And then on the corner there is the Prolific Crafter. So here you can see we're at the other end of the coffee area with some combined stands, Ali Scott and Sarah Fisher, felt makers, Chrysalis Art to Wear and the Y Severn Textile Artists of Mid Wales. Here we see Joe's Toes at the corner, and then there's a big interactive area together with the Wales Air Ambulance, before we move on to Wild Woven. Beautiful stand as always, Liz, gorgeous. Then another abandoned area, empty stand, probably COVID related, before we here see Cozy Kitchen Fibers, followed by Selena Jane Art. Wonderful illustrations. I'm zooming in on one of my favorites. I love Selena's work. And then next in this lineup is Esgare Fibers. Here is Emily Cross Ceramics, some beautiful yarn bowls in the back there. And this is Riverside Knitting Wools. So we're still in Hall 1. And here is another display by the Carmarthen School of Art and another quick peek at Attic Spin Dye before we see the big stand of Uppingham yarns at the end of this particular aisle. And then we move on to the other side where the lady owning Lucy the Tudor is just walking away from her stand. Some really interesting Tudor time tools there. And here is the gorgeous Eliza Conway. I had no time to go and see her stand this time, but there's not a lot of shows where I haven't browsed her stand and picked up some lovely things. Here is the Bailey Do Manx mountain sheep stand, and then on the other side is knitting for fun. Here we have botanical yarn and the classic carder. So if I swing back to the corner where I kind of skipped across because of the close stand of Slow Loris, giving you a little bit of a peek inside before I look at the other side where there's Margaret Lee with a beautiful colourful stand. Margaret is right next to Immediate Media, some of the knitting magazines of course, and here we have Hilda Haarhoff Knitwear. Across from Hilda is Moonlight Yarns, and here next to Immediate Media is Mothy and the Squid. Then across there we have SKD Yarns. Next to Fernhill Fleece and Fibre. Oh, that was me in the mirror. Dragon Hill Studio, next to DT Craft and Design. This is You Felty Thing. And then right at the end of this line of stands is Pearl Alpaca Design. And now a bit of an apology. There are 3 stands that you're going to see in a distance, and I never got around to walking close to them. Fleece Witch, Midwinter Yarns and Elfin. I'm so sorry guys, I completely missed you when I walked around that part of the hall. Here's Kate Cloths, and behind Kate is Hilltop Cloud. That was Zoe and Sharon ducking away from the camera as I move around to River Knits. There's a bit more of Hilltop Cloud right next to this gorgeous little stand called Zakami Yarns. I thought this stand was so tastefully done, and with that beautiful bow made out of grasses at the entrance, hence the zooming in. I thought it was a really lovely stand. Right next to Moonbeads, and on the corner Creative Anarchy Yarn with Garthenor Organic across from them. Then the again beautifully laid out stand by Katie Greenbean, her lovely patterns, her stamps, all the lovely illustrations that Katie does, as well as her knitwear designs. And here we have River Knits on the corner. Behind River Knits is Anne Jarvis. And here is the Little House of Happiness. Wool Decanted. And Mum's Makery. As I was swinging the camera around, as you can see, I caught Zoe and Sharon in the crosshairs again before settling here on Brinkley Looms, with right next to them Brimstone Buttons and Buckles, not really visible at this point, and the Lost Sheep Company. Next to the Lost Sheep is Clem's Daughter. Again, another view of Moonlight Yarns. And here is Blue Faced. On the corner here, more covered merchandise from Muffin Ceramics. Wonderful wool next to them, and stand organization going on at Hilda's Haarhof's stand. Before we swing around again, go to the other side of this really large hall, we get another view of Uppingham Yarns before diving into the next aisle, where we have Nellie and Eve. Spotting Sharon and Zoe in the back of the stand again. They were, of course, doing a little walk around as well before we opened up. And this is India Bulo with the gorgeous African baskets and Penralt alpacas across from the Woolly Knit stand. Next to Woolly Knit is the National Angora Club and Folky Felt. Beautiful artwork by this lady, really beautiful animals, etc. And here are the Wensleydale Longwool Sheep shop. Around the corner from them are the textile traders. And moving on from there are the Knitted Knockers UK. Next to Cat and Sparrow UK. And here is the other end of the stand of Woolly Knit. So then on the other side of that aisle, we start with Leatherwise. Bellica Yarns, Gull Rock Fibres, and Wool Tops. Moving on into the next aisle, we have Owl About Yarn and Cartreff Yarn. Next to them is the stand of Brent Fox Yarns. Followed by Kiln and Craft. And the Woolly Wyvern or Wyvern? I'm still foreign after all these years, can you hear? We swing around and here is Five Moons, of course part of the Slow Wardrobe stand. We had an L-shaped stand this year. I absolutely loved it. We'll see it again from the other angle when I walk down the next aisle. Next to Five Moons is Sardines for Tea. And next to the sardines is Anakin Alice, the Yarn Addict. Then on the other end of this aisle is another big stand, which is called Siobhan's Crafts. Diving into the next aisle, we meet the makers. Bird Farm Alpacas. And then on the opposite corner is the other end of the Slow Wardrobe stand, the bit that you couldn't see when I showed you from the other side before. And of course I'm taking the liberty to do a quick walk around and show you our L-shaped stand that we were so very proud of this year, and it worked really well with having that little payment counter in the corner with these ladies hanging behind it. We also had a sales table of yarns that you can see right here, And that worked extremely well too, so we may go for a repeat of that setup next year. Moving on, across from me in that aisle that I was looking at is the lovely ladies from the threshing barn. Next to the threshing barn we have Lala with Love. Trying to peek in the stand a little bit, but a bit difficult to see what's there. Sorry about that. And then on the corner, the gorgeous, gorgeous genie bags. I own one of these bags myself, and they are wonderful. This is, again, covered merchandise from Namolio. And then we have the incredibly beautiful stand of John Arbon. You can see John and Juliet in the corner restocking the shelves at the beginning of day 2. They had fantastic setup this year. You can see all the colors in beautiful glory, and they were using scaffolding materials, scaffolding tubes, as you can see there, for all the big bins of the fiber that they sell. It was a fantastic stand, and they were overrun most of the weekend. Right across from them is Bird Street Yarn. Right next to Blacker Yarns. Tasteful stand as always. Followed by Felt Fusion. And Crochet Design. So now I should have swung around and given Elfin and Midwinter Yarn another close-up view, and this is what I completely missed. So again, I apologize. We are now moving into Hall 2, and we start with the big stand of Wingham Woolwork. Next to Wingham is a big shared stand by Pen Elan, Kaidu Fiberflocks, and Wool and Silk Art Studio. I hope I pronounced that all right. If not, at least you'll be able to read it. Then we have the Dartmoor, Jacob and Shetland sheep. Here they are, beautiful sheep and beautiful lambs. Then walking on from there is Cariad Yarns. Tidinbryn. And the Shetland Sheep Society on the corner of that aisle. Quick zoom onto the Shetland sheep. And on we move into the next aisle, where we start off with the Wool Women of Wales. Some beautiful Swaledale sheep there. And here we have a crafty goat club. Mohair goats, beautiful goat with her little baby. There they are. From here we swing around to the other side of that aisle and see the Wombats Woodshop. next to the British Coloured Sheep Breeders Association. And here we have Hatton Willow. And then on the corner of this aisle is Jen Patola, where I bought the beautiful shawl for my mum. Walking around the top of this aisle and moving into the next one, on the corner we have UK Alpaca. Right next to UK Alpaca is Knit One Kits. And here we have the Knitting Gift Shop. I hope that with my camera work, despite the blinkers, you get an idea of how beautifully laid out the show was. There's plenty of seating space, these lovely coffee areas. Here is Yarn Unique in the next aisle and Gwenol Designer Hand Knits. Followed by Elegant Chaos. And on the corner again, Sheep on Mars. So then we walk around the top of this aisle, and then on the opposite corner we've got Fa Bazaar. Next to the colourful stand of Fa Bazaar is Hooked by Design, gorgeous kits. And here is Bigwig's Angora, where I bought my lovely little bumps of Angora Merino blend. And on the opposite corner here is the Woolen Witch. Across from the Woolen Witch is IST Crafts. Favorite drop spindles. Here's the display of Turkish spindles. They are my absolute favorites. I love Turkish spindles, and I've got a whole bunch of them, all bought from IST Crafts from Ian over the years. I love his spindles. They're wonderful. Here is Chakra and the Braid Society. And then we swing around into the last aisle here of this side of the hall, with on the corner Bow Fiddle Yarns. Next to Bow Fiddle is the old bookshop. And here on the corner we have All Wool That Ends Wool. Here is Ammonite Yarns sharing with Woolly Wumpkins. And in the stand next to them, we have the funnily named Ducky Darlings Yarns. So that was it for this part of Hall 3, but there's a whole other corner left. There's a massive seating area here to the right, just out of the picture, but the stands that you see kind of ahead of me are all still to come. So this is going to be the last half of Hall 3. We're starting with the Crafty Bird. Next to Fire and Fibre. Here we have Airedale Yarns. And then on the corner, Colour Craft, big stand. And food, lots of tasty treats across from Colour Craft. I hope they fared all right, having to look at that all weekend, because that's rather difficult to resist. There were lots of very tasty things, although I must say the dies on the Colour Craft stand look beautifully displayed as well. See all those little hanging animals dyed in the different colours, dye colours. Very clever solution to show the colours off properly. Then the tiny stand of Propaganzi, and right next to Propaganzi is Spindernella. Then we have the beautiful stand of Rosie's Moments. And then here we have Curlew Weaver's Woolen Mill. Then we swing around to Dinah's Home of Crafts. Fox Tapestry Design. Williams Gansey Project. And Spire Crafts. More food and tasty treats, and I was told gin as well. And then here is the Velvet Sixpence. Next to In the Wool Shed. Followed by the lovely stand of Toft. We swing around for the last couple of aisles. Another nice seating area. This is Yew and Ply. Stonehenge Ceramics. And Coastal Colours. Last stands of the show, Black Mountain Fabric. Thread of Life. And here's Cool Crafting. Swinging around to the last two turkeys in the shop. Sophie's Wild Woolens, and last but not least, Laurette Crafts UK. And I'll quickly go outside to say my goodbyes. So that was it, the walk around of Wonderwool 2022. Thank you very much, Chrissy and Andy and all the other helpers for having us again this year. And thank you all the customers who came. It was a wonderful show. I'm saying this on Sunday morning, so we've still got a day to go. But the atmosphere is fantastic. Everybody is so happy to be here. And the mood, vibe as a result is just unparalleled. It's wonderful. So thank you everyone. I hope you enjoyed this walk around. And I'll see you again soon.